What's up, everybody?
What's happening, family?
And welcome back to another episode of Is This Gonna Cause an Argument? My name is Angel Lakita Moore Tanksley, also known as That Chick Angel. And I'm one of the hosts of this podcast, and I'm joined by my husband of 13 years and co-host
Marcus Tanksley, also, I'm Marcus Tanksley, but Marcus ain't on the gram. Also known as Tank, also known as Them Boys Dads.
Why do you think you get tripped up on your introduction?
I don't know.
You haven't figured out what that thing is that you want to say?
Get tripped up?
No, I'm saying, do you not know like what you want to be your solid standard, or you want to be able to keep it going?
I ain't got a solid standard.
I know,
I don't follow the rules.
Exactly. He don't follow the rules, and neither does this podcast. Because this podcast, we hit every single thing. It doesn't matter if it's something that we're going to argue about or not, but we're going to talk about it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So if this is your first time listening, make sure you rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, That Chick Angel TV, go on ahead and click that thumbs up button. We want to give a special shout out and thank you to our Patreon who is watching this live.
The immediate family. What's happening, family? How y'all doing?
If you want to be able to watch our podcast while we're filming and getting a little bit of extra content from us, they also help kind of direct the conversation, because if they have questions, we can see the questions on our screen and we can answer them in real time. If you want to become a part of our Patreon, you can join it at www.patreon.com/thatchickangel. But before we get into any other stuff, I want to quickly tell you all about who we have coming up on this podcast so she can say hello.
Yes.
This is a personal friend of mine and someone who I had just been sleeping on. I didn't realize she was just this mountain of information when it comes to finances, when it comes to, more importantly, growing wealth. Didn't know. She was right there this entire time. I would love for you all to give a warm welcome to Miss Shelby Renee.
What's up, Shelby?
Hi, Shelby.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for that warm introduction.
You are very, very welcome. A big reason, and I'm going to go more into who Shelby is, but a big reason I wanted to have her on here is because Shelby, finance is not Shelby's like 9 to 5 personal finance. She's a person who just basically took her own finances under control. Now she has the more knowledge than the average person, but I think sometimes we don't realize how much power we have just in ourselves if we just equip ourselves with the right information. And Shelby is like a walking proof of that. So we're going to jump into more about Shelby, but we always like to start off our podcast with a segment called In My Feelings.
Well, first, we got to thank our sponsors.
Oh, you want to go ahead and thank the sponsors? Let's thank the sponsors.
Thank the sponsors.
We got 3 sponsors. Tell them who they are.
We got, I was going to say speaking points. We got BetterHelp, Off Up in the Piece, of course. We got Rebecca Allen and, of course, Usual Wine.
These are all sponsors that have sponsored us before, so we are grateful that they have become fans of our podcast because we're fans of their products, and we'll tell you more about them a little later. So as I was saying, we start our podcast off with a little segment called In Our Feelings. It's what's got us either feeling some type of way or what's got us feeling good. And Marcus is the one who chose to do this segment today. So I know you got something at the tip of your tongue. So
it just came up as soon as you asked what segment you want to do.
Go ahead and tell the people.
It's talked about a lot. You know those people that want to exit your following and they feel the need to announce their exit?
Yes.
I'm like, don't announce it. And I got to the point, I finally matured or graduated to the point where I feel like I don't need to respond to people that say anything negative, because Angel know I'm the clapback king. I'm like, I'm coming for you. But Angel's like, if you ain't responding to everybody saying something positive, don't respond to a single person saying something negative. I'm like, you're right. So a lot of times I'll just scroll through like quickly and look at comments, but then every now and then there's one, I don't like what you said, I'm leaving. You took the time out to put that on there. So a lot of times I just be petty. Now I just throw up deuces like, have a good one.
They don't deserve that energy. They don't deserve that energy.
Don't.
Exactly.
They really don't. But I'm like, who cares? Like,
for them, they want to feel like they mattered in the moment and that you were heartbroken over it.
But that reminds me of I ain't gonna say the race of the women, but the ones that act disgusting and they. It's like, shut up. Nobody care what you think. Go somewhere and drink Clorox.
Oh, my goodness. Marcus. Don't tell people to do that. Anything got you feeling good?
Everything's got me feeling good. Look, y'all, Angel's got her stuff she's got going with her, what do you call it?
Not everybody knows.
Well,
only Patreon knows. Patreon knows what it is.
Patreon knows what
Give
it
us
is.
the tea.
I know that. Listen, everybody else, unless they're part of Patreon, they gonna know. But I'll tell you, Shelby, after we stop.
Okay.
I'll let you know what's going on.
Okay.
You got that going. I got new things coming up as far as my product line that I'm working on.
Yes, I'm excited.
That's got me feeling great.
His branding just got finished.
Yeah, my branding got finished, so I got my logos and icons and color. What's it called?
Color board.
And all of that jazz. So it's got me feeling great.
It was so funny when we were trying to tally up. We didn't really have a real look at how much each individual thing was costing him.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what his profit margin was. And it took us longer than what it would take.
It took us about an hour and a half to figure that out.
Because he measures in grams, but all the products are bought in fluid ounces. So having to convert.
Yeah, but when you're dealing with different consistencies of fluids, you can't just use fluid ounces because things weigh different crossing over.
Listen, I know it took us a long time.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
I know this.
That's all I'm saying.
Word for it.
I did.
You're the mathematician. You're supposed to know right off the top of your head. What's up, riders? Yeah, I got my riders in the house.
So, what's got me feeling some type of way, and then we'll have our guests. It's got everybody feeling some type of way. Obviously, what I expected and what everybody I feel like should have expected was that all the officers involved in the murdering of Breonna Taylor, none of them are being booked for any charges other than the one for shooting into another room. So none for her death.
Endangerment of somebody that wasn't involved, that didn't even get injured.
Of their walls.
Yes, through their walls. And I'm upset for two reasons. One, because it's that basic for what everybody's upset for. It's just people shouldn't be able to just be shot and killed in their own homes while not breaking the law and it'd be okay. But I am also a little bit upset with us as a people for not, I don't want to say not knowing what the laws are, but being once I knew that a no-knock warrant existed in the state that we came from, I knew right then.
Yes.
The law protects what those officers did.
Because they did not do anything illegal when it comes to the law, which is the bigger problem.
Right. So
slavery was legal. It was legal to lynch
Yes,
Black
it was
people.
Not illegal to do any of those things.
You could do anything you wanted to. It was legal.
So for me, it was just more of a thing of the anger that the understandable anger that's building up in people. I just want it to start getting directed in the right way. You know what I'm saying? We should have, as a people, knew this was coming. The law is not fairy tale. The law is written down, right? So it's something that we all have access to. So if we all know what the law means, right, then we can start figuring out ways to how to change the law. Because this one case that is not going to actually happen, right, is not going to change anything. Even if it did happen, it's not going to change the law. The law still protects officers doing this. So that's kind of where I'm hoping we as Black people, and I include myself in this, start focusing on how do we get laws changed? How do we get them changed now and not wait until something happens where we're just oh, they should be tried. They're not going to get tried because it was legal.
Yeah. They can get tried, but they're going to come off.
Yeah.
It's right. Arrest the cops. Okay, they arrested them, put them on trial, and guess what? They're scot-free.
Yeah, they didn't get arrested.
No, whatever the process was.
You're getting
Ahmaud
George. What'd you say?
Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd.
Yes.
Well, George Floyd. Yes, right, with the officer.
George Floyd's officers got arrested because that is that's not legal. But anyways, but what does have me feeling good is what you said. I'm finally feeling Shelby, when you've been doing this stuff for so long, you be just when is there gonna be some momentum? So finally feeling like I got momentum to start making big leaps and bounds, to start dreaming big.
Love that.
It's just, I feel good that this is finally happening. So, Shelby, what's got you feeling some type of way?
Well, I'll say, and I agree with everything you just said, just looking at this week, but what's got me in my feelings is I'm scrolling through my social media and people, it's like they're not in a pandemic. People, I just got back from Cabo. I just got back from Turks and Caicos. They're all sun-kissed. And I'm like, wait a minute, did I miss the memo? Are we living in the same COVID-19 world? I'm confused.
It's ridiculous.
Girl.
It's ridiculous.
Listen, I was driving up and down Ventura Boulevard yesterday trying to find a cocktail to go. I was trying to go to a place where they would put a cocktail inside a plastic cup so I could go home. We drove past a restaurant in Sherman Oaks that the street was packed. The street was like, the restaurant had at least just it looked like 200 people oozing out of it. I was like,
that's what I've been telling you. When I go out, I got my car, and when I go out cruising like down Ventura Boulevard on Saturday night, the streets are flooding with people.
Tell me, what is going on?
I'm like, what is happening? I mean, people are out here living their best lives still while we're in the house. Yeah. So I don't understand it. I don't get it.
I don't either.
One of the contracts that the company I work for has is we're remodeling multiple terminals at one of the airports out here. And so I see who's traveling. And when I tell you, it seems like 80 to 90% of the people who are traveling are like Black people.
Really?
And not just Black people, like Black people that halftime ain't got no act right. I'm gonna try to just say it. I'm like, if I see you walking through with pink weave and matching fluffy, what they call them things you be wearing, slides of flip flops on. I'm like, where y'all going? Where y'all coming?
Oh, honey, they're going to the Caribbean, and those are my cousins. Love y'all, but putting them out there, those are my cousins. And I'm like, have you all not seen the statistics? This is why our community is in the situation we're in.
Yeah.
And then like, you know what I'm saying? All the fake Black people different because we ain't got the insurance because they won't let us. Keep your ass out the street.
Right. That's
exactly.
I was like, no. It's not because we ain't got insurance, and it's not our health. It's not our underlying health reasons. It's because we still out here.
Right. In the streets.
In these streets with a gazillion people. I'm like, y'all, we got FaceTime. We have all the technology in the world.
Yes. And guess what? Jamaica can wait. It will be there.
Yeah. I be wanting to ask, like, why? Come here. Keisha, come here. Why?
Right.
Out here.
You and your 3 kids. Come here. All y'all.
Right.
It's a lot. Well, what's got you feeling good, Shelby?
Ooh, what's got me feeling good? Oh boy,
you look good.
Thank you.
15 years old, Shelby.
Oh, honey, you're so kind, so kind. These kids are wearing me out. I'm like, what's
your guardian at?
We're almost at the end of potty training. Hello, I don't know. I know y'all know. Yes. I'm happy about that. That's got me feeling good. We're almost there.
So wait a minute. You're almost so all your kids will be out. Your 2 will be out of diapers.
Yes, we are. My 2-year-old, soon to be 3, he is making strides. I'm just tired of telling little humans to go to the bathroom. I really am.
Oh my God, you're so close. You're so close. Freedom, so close.
Say, we got a grown man, we still got to tell sometimes.
I know. It's the worst. But before we jump into the topic, we want to go into a really, really great sponsor that I am excited to be able to talk about again on this podcast because it is so essential right now, and that is BetterHelp. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP. Is there something interfering with your happiness or is preventing you from achieving your goals? I know for me, I have a lot of mental blocks because I overthink things. I know that I'm like always questioning whether or not it's the best thing, and I'm not sure where that stems from. Yeah. What part of me just kind of locks up when it comes to the things that I feel like are in me?
Mine is mine is procrastination.
And that's always rooted in something. Procrastination is definitely rooted in something. Well, BetterHelp wants to help. BetterHelp will assist you with your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It is not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas. The service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. You get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit their website and read their testimonials, which are posted daily. Visit betterhelp.com/argue. That's better, HELP, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of experienced professionals. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. Special offer for Is This Going to Cause an Argument listeners? Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/argue. So make sure you check it out, especially in this time of stress. Being that we don't need to be flying off to nobody's Cancun or Jamaica for relax and rest,
or LA or Atlanta
or any other
else.
place. Go on ahead, use that money that you would have used on a ticket and go to betterhelp.com/argue and get yourself some help. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right. So
real quick, for everybody that's watching, all the immediate family, greatly appreciate y'all. I don't see on my docket, whatever you call this, I see how many people are watching right now. We at 90. We should have 90 likes at least.
You don't see, you said on your docket, on your phone is what that's called.
Is it? Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about the little bar.
Oh, yeah, because you had up the live chat, so the live chat takes it away.
What I got it up here for is the live chat.
Boom, there's the likes.
Stuff away.
I'm trying to show you.
Back up.
This, all you gotta press is live chat, babe.
Oh, somewhere.
My husband needs all layout. So
BetterHelp.
This is part 3 of our family and finance series, and the reason why we started this series is because me and Marcus are truly trying, at least in our head, to make better decisions when it comes to our finances, and we have big dreams when it comes to our money and what we want to leave to our kids. And I will say that Shelby, our guest, Shelby Renee, is the first person I have met that I actually see them making plans and executing plans. Shelby Renee is a mom of 2, a wife, as well as a media and television executive. And she and I know each other because of Mocha Moms, which is a support group for women of color. And she runs a group that we have where we focus on financial independence. And what has resonated with me since the first meeting was when we made vision boards for 2030. So we started this group at the beginning of 2020 before, crap hit the fan. And she had us make vision boards for what we wanted our finances to look like in 2030. So she showed us ours. And one of the big things that we had to put on there was what our net worth would be for 2030. And so Shelby showed us ours. And when we do vision boards, we be like, we just cutting out pictures and, vacations.
Put these heels on here. He's red bottom.
Right. I mean, my vision board is right beside Marcus's head. But we put it on, we usually do vision boards.
You want a pet lion too?
Do I want a pet? You're so funny. I forgot why I put that on there. Oh, yeah, because
Africa?
I'm the Pride. That's what it was.
I'm trying to find it.
I put that up there before Tanksley Pride ever was a thing.
Did you?
Yes. Sorry. I'm sorry. This is so out of context. But anyway,
a manifestation.
Yes, truly. But a lot of times we put stuff on a vision board just in the sense of we're putting it out there on the universe to manifest. But when you started talking, Shelby actually had plans.
She took the
steps.
Sound like she took the elementary
action items. Yes.
She had action items.
Like this ain't arts and crafts, y'all. Y'all supposed to keep this stuff.
Yes. And I had never thought about that. Like she was like, oh no, this net worth that I have on here, I actually am taking the steps to actually be there in 10 years. In 10 years. And I was like, girl, you telling me you gonna figure out how to be this white woman on this bed reading a book? You got steps to do that? I remember your vision board. Do you understand?
Yes, that's so funny.
So Shelby, first let's give them a little background of like how your love for finances and that developed.
Yeah. So, I mean, I found my passion for just like business and economics in high school, randomly just in my AP econ class. It just resonated with me, but more so from a personal experience. You know, my parents were divorced. They got divorced when I was 5. So I grew up mainly with my mom in Nashville and my dad was in Houston. My dad was a doctor. My mom was an educator. So, you know, for the most part, we were pretty stable. But I think for me, it was watching my mom and dad, because they were, as the kids say, out the mud, from out the, whatever that term is. Like they both bootstrapped it. They both came from families that were sharecroppers, like came from that lineage. Like my dad and mom were the first college graduates. You know, my dad went on to med school. My mom has several master's degrees, and they knew struggle. And so watching my mom as a then single mom, just really, you know, buying our first home, you know, she was always very good with money. And so I remember watching her go over I knew when it was that time of the month that she would go through the bills, she would lay them all out on the table. And so I just started to learn from her how important it was to manage your money, manage your budget. She's always been good about living below, you know, spending less and saving. So she always impressed that on me. She's a what you call a super saver. So she almost saves too much, which we can get into that. But what was really the turning point for me is that my dad, he worked really hard. So outside of being a doctor and building an incredible practice, he also owns several businesses. And I think that's where I get my business hustle from, which I just started to realize. So he had a trucking company. He even owned a meat processing plant. And just to give it context, my dad is from Jasper, Texas. I don't know if you all remember James Byrd, the unfortunate story with James Byrd, the gentleman who was attached to the truck and they...
Yes.
So we're talking about, this is, y'all don't know, like anybody from Jasper, Texas, or that area in East Texas, you know what it is there and how hard it is as a Black person to really overcome. So my dad ended up buying the plant where my grandmother worked. Like that, it was huge.
Wow.
But unfortunately, and this is why I'm really passionate about talking about, like how you said, generational wealth. My dad passed away of cancer back in 2006. And for all his hard work, and, you know, love him, and he had his reasons, but things were not set up properly. So all those businesses, all the assets, all of that stuff, it was a free for all. At the time, I was 24. So I had to grow up really fast. And when I say fast, because before then I was really sheltered. My parents, you know, they sheltered me. I didn't really want for much. I was very fortunate that between scholarships and their hard work, I was able to go to undergrad, no student loans. So, you know, I'm just living carefree. And then when that happened, it was just everything, the rug, all that safety net was gone. So, you know, I mean, cousins, everybody came out the woodwork fighting over money. And so, I mean, a lot was lost. And so that, for me, was just so eye-opening, and I just don't want that to happen to anyone else. And bringing it to now, you know, that we're moms and dads and have these kids, and I have so many friends, you know, in our mommy circle, who they're doing well, they're making good money, but I find that they're having all these struggles, or they don't know what to do with their money. So that's where my passion really comes from, because I don't want anyone to experience what I did.
So, did you have a question?
No. Well, I did, but it got so interesting. I completely forgot what I was going to ask.
So, oh my God, there's so many places we can go with this. Yeah. One of the big things that I feel like you do differently, and we were just talking about it because we want to sell. I know we talked about go ahead.
Do what you did. I remember it.
Go ahead.
No, so the whole vision board thing, Angel had been doing it, I think, for a couple of years before I did my first one. And then I did my first one, you know, they say, write the vision, make it plain. So I wrote it down. I took it serious at the time, but then through the course of the year, I really didn't pay much attention to it. And then at the end of the year, I noticed how many things came to pass that I wrote down. And I don't know, I can't explain whether when I did write it down or through the year, if I subconsciously was just making actions toward that. But then I took like 2 years off. But then when I did it again, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to this, and it happened again. And that's when like I said, like the truck that I was gonna buy you, just all these things just came by. I was like, this is crazy. So then this year is the first year actually I typed it out and I have it down, and like literally every morning I take it into the bathroom with it as I'm getting ready and I read it or whatever, and I try to keep it on my mind throughout the day when I'm at work or whatever. Even at night, like I keep it right there on my nightstand and I look at it. And again, it's like I've actively been making steps toward like those things. It's like, okay, I need to make a conscious effort toward this, and not just, through me being, I call it, favored, through just me being favored of these things coming to pass, and they want to actually make steps toward it.
Actionable.
Yeah, steps. Actionable steps. And now it's like, okay, so next year is going to be, I'm going to come out of that comfort zone.
Right.
And put some stuff on there that's like, no, this might not feel attainable, but it is.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So I'm sorry, did I?
No,
it felt like a good place to just go ahead and interject.
You just cut me off. Go ahead, it's fine.
So Shelby,
got cut off.
One of the big things that you talked about was in our first meeting was figuring out our net worth.
Yes.
So a lot of times I know in society, when we hear net worth, we're usually thinking of celebrities. We don't think that we actually have a net worth.
Right.
So please go into that.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
I got like $20 in.
Right. And it's so true. It's like people think, oh, that's just for celebrities or people who are on the Forbes list, but everybody has a net worth. And it's important to know what yours is, even if it's negative. So, just very simply, your net worth is what you own minus what you owe. So an example of that is if you bought a car, okay, since we're just going down the car road, since Marcus mentioned that. So if you bought a car, so it's the current market value of that car minus what you still owe on that car. So say the car is worth $10,000 today, right? But you still owe $6,000 on the auto loan you took out to purchase that car. So it's not the monthly payment, it's the total payment. So in that example, you take the 10,000 minus the 6,000, your net worth would be 4,000. So you're going to sit down and write down everything that you own that's an asset. So that would include your home, your automobiles, anything else that you actually have some sort of ownership or you're paying towards ownership, because we can get into that too, because you don't own it till you paid it off, but we'll get into that, okay? So it's just really important, because a lot of people think, because I also invest in real estate. So people are like, oh, well, you've got all this in your real estate portfolio. I'm like, yes, but I don't own it. I'm paying towards it to actually hold that title. So it's just important. I always suggest that people look at it quarterly. And if it's something that's just like overwhelming, and I share it with our group, there's different like worksheets online that you can easily find. And I say you start with, it's called a balance sheet. So again, people think that's just like for your company that you might work for or your home business, but you have a balance sheet for your family and for your household. And so you need to write down all your assets and all your liabilities or debts that you owe.
Yeah, I did ours, and it hurt my feelings. Marcus hasn't seen it. I did it, and
because it's because of you.
One of it is.
I would be Gucci, but you
wouldn't actually be Gucci because you wouldn't have this house. But my student loans be whooping our butts. Like that's the thing that really is like, But the one thing that I know that you do that is very interesting, and we touched on real estate before, but I feel like in the last one, but I'm like, the way you do it is something else. So me and Marcus, we want to move from this house, right?
Yeah.
And a part of us is like, we actually just had this discussion this morning. We're not going to do this, but we had this discussion. So we want to move into like a house that's a little more comfortable for us, since we have 4 boys, more space for them to play outside and to get out of this neighborhood, right? But as we've been looking for houses, we keep seeing duplexes for sale.
Duplexes and fourplexes.
yes.
Duplexes and fourplexes. And I was
like cheaper than most of the houses that we're looking at.
Exactly.
We could afford literally if we sold this house, to purchase one of these fourplexes or duplexes, and then potentially rent where we live, because the fourplexes, the one that we looked at, it's all occupied, right? And like renting where we live, using the money from the duplex to pay where we live, and then saving up our income to eventually buy our house. The only reason why we're like, okay, we're not gonna do it because it's COVID, and right now tenants are protected to not have to pay their rent. And I was like, what I'm not about to do is be paying on a mortgage and somebody ain't paying me rent. So tell us about your very interesting situation.
Yes. So, and to that point, so my husband and I, we got into real estate investing seriously about, I guess, it's been about 4 years now. And so we decided to, like you suggested, or like you were considering, we sold we did. Yeah, we sold one home. So when we got married, my husband was already house hacking. He didn't know he was doing that, but at the time, but that's the phrase in the real estate investing world. And so that's where you say you buy a duplex, you live on one side and you rent out the other side. So when you're able to do that, most times, especially here in California, the rent just from that one tenant can cover your mortgage. Yeah. So it's very easy to build up cash flow and save. So we were doing that when we first got married. And so then the market, since it's been climbing, we had purchased another single family home, but we knew it was an investment, and we bought it because it was a great price. It had already been renovated and it was on a huge piece of land. And so we're like, okay, this was a couple years ago where it was just like the housing market, it was at an all-time high, even though it is now, but that's there are other factors that play going on right now. So we decided to sell and cash out, and then we were able to rent out the single family that we had purchased, and then we acquired another rental property. And then we moved into a rental. And so a lot of people think this is really out of the box because, everybody thinks you go buy a primary home, you go get a bigger home, the more money that you have. But the book that I read that a lot of people say changed their mindset, and it certainly changed mine, was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so I encourage everyone, if you have not read that book, read it. And if you don't have time to read it, get the audio book, okay? Because it really just opened my mind to the possibilities, because the author introduces the concept that your home, your primary home, is not an asset. Everybody thinks of it as an asset. And over time, yes, it can become an asset once you've paid down that mortgage and you have some equity in it. But the thinking is that your housing is typically the highest expense that you have per month. So if you have all your money tied up in some expensive mortgage, that's tying up your dollars that you could be using to purchase an investment property that could be cash flowing and paying you every month. Right. So, the goal is to find, if you're able to in your area, like we decided to rent a townhome. Of course, our family was looking at us crazy, but we actually were able to get something that was less than a mortgage we would be paying, and we have more space. And guess what? When something breaks, I call the landlord. Like the washer dryer just went out, we need a new washer dryer. Microwave just went out, we needed a new microwave. And since it's a townhouse, that we don't have, our utilities are lower, so it's given us more money to be able to put towards investing in real estate. So it's just kind of it's a different way to think about it. And even if someone's going to get a primary home, how can you bring in income through that home? So a lot of people, like some of our friends in our mom circle, they're converting their garages into, we call them ADUs, or accessory dwelling units. Or can you rent out a room in your home? I know it's harder when we have kids, but we have to think of ways that we can turn these homes into investments.
So how long do you plan on renting your primary place of residence forever, or is this until like you have paid all of your investment properties down?
Yeah, it's interesting. My strategy changes. It goes back and forth. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to buy a home. I want my forever home, like you guys. But then I'm like, I don't want to settle for my forever home. Like, I know what I want, and I know what that budget is going to be to get that. And so I don't want to necessarily buy a primary home until we're ready to do that. And so in order to do that, we're going to keep building our investments and our passive income so they can help support and finance that forever home. I mean, when you look historically at building generational wealth, and there's a huge issue right now in this country when it comes to white families and home ownership versus Black families, there's a huge gap in terms of home ownership, and it's gone down significantly in the past 10 years after the Great Recession in 2008 for multiple reasons. So I think in the long term, it is great to have a primary home that you can pass on to your kids or your grandkids. But I'll be completely honest, I love this idea of being a nomad. And this is a growing phenomenon, if you will, amongst the FIRE or financially independent retire early community, because you're not held down. So even like in this pandemic, now that we're working virtually, if we want to pick up and go to the desert or Utah or you name it, we have the flexibility to do that because we're not tied down by a primary home that we've got to take care of. So to answer your question, I'm kind of enjoying being able to hop around. I mean, my kids and husband think I'm crazy, but they come along for the ride.
Okay, you already brought it up, but I would love for you to go in a little bit more in depth of FIRE, financially independent, retire early. But prior to doing that, I want to bring up our next sponsor, someone who I really enjoy, got to meet personally via Zoom, and that is Rebecca Allen. Now, let me tell you, as a professional Black woman, especially when I'm at auditions or when I have meetings, my shoe game is the thing that be tripping me up, because I'm like, my shoes has got to look right, because you can be as fly as you want to, but if they look at your feet and you got on some, I remember one of my girlfriends had an audition and they literally told her, don't ever wear those shoes again.
Wow. Got on some Wild Good Starlight.
They were like, don't ever wear any shoes like that again. Well, Rebecca Allen will make it so that will never, ever, ever, ever happen to you again. This is a business that was started by Rebecca Allen, who is a Black woman. So her business is a Black woman-owned brand making sophisticated solutions for women. So today you can shop their incredible footwear collection, 3 timeless styles, and 5 shades of nude to complement women of all different complexions. These are wardrobe solutions and not merely shoes. Women love them because it takes the headache out of getting dressed and wondering if you have the right shoe to complete your outfit. These are no-brainers, and they offer free shipping in return, so no risk to try on at home. So there's the Skim, which is the no heel, like patent leather, pointed toe flat that gives you like a super clean and chic look. So somebody like busy, like Shelby, if she's having to go back and forth on the lot, you got this beautiful nude Skim that you can get. Then there's the 2-strap, which I think this is the one that Marcus would love. It's designed to be high enough to be
angel in it.
Right. Yes, you don't want to wear it. You're correct. They're designed to be high enough to be red carpet ready, but something you can actually walk in for a night out, loved by celebrities and stylists. And then the new pump, which is what I gifted my sister, who is a judge, is the almond toe with a 3-inch heel, perfect for heading back to the office. So it's perfect for her judge robe. She just puts on those nudes and it looks like she's about to send somebody to jail. These are must-have for a smart edited closet. Rebecca Allen exists to help women do their best at work. And it's not just about taking the pain points out of your day. They just launched a Fit Expert Seller program where you can actually sign up to earn extra income with them. This is not a tiered scheme. You don't have to recruit anyone. You just host virtual events and earn 20% commission for your sales. This is really for anyone looking to get a side hustle or make extra income remotely. Couldn't we all use that these days? This is a perfect time to be talking about her, especially with Shelby on here. We're going to get to this, because side hustles, that is important. Yeah. Okay. You simply share the brand and get paid for the sales you drive. You can learn more at their site at rebecca-allen.com. Brands spend millions of dollars on ads on Facebook and Google and podcasts, and Rebecca Allen team would rather pay you and put the money back in your local communities. It's worn by tons of celebrities, fashionable ladies. Okay. Just check out their Instagram at Rebecca Allen NY to peep who's wearing them. Rebecca Allen is also about to drop some fabulous masks in a few nude shades. and they have more new products coming down the pipeline. So this is a brand that you definitely want to watch. Again, head to Rebecca-Allen.com. That's REBECCA-ALLEN.com, and use our code ARGUE20 for $20 off your order of $100 or more. Again, that's ARGUE20 for $20 off your order of 100 or more. Thank you so much, Rebecca Allen. We appreciate you sponsoring this podcast. So, the specific group that me and Shelby are in is a FIRE group. So, with basically the point of the FIRE group is all about becoming financially independent so that you can retire early.
Do what you want.
What'd you say?
I said, do what you want, when you want, with who you want.
Right. That's the whole point of retiring early. And some of us might have a little different goals, but truly the beginning of that FI is like what all of us are definitely trying to achieve, is that financial independence. So kind of explain how you figure out, like there's kind of how you calculate retiring early.
Yes. And like you said, the movement has now become more FI, so financial independence, because a lot of the people who've achieved FIRE have now just gone on to do other things. They're not what you would think of as retired. So so it's more about that financial independence, meaning that you're going to have enough money in all of your investments, savings, you name it, assets, that you can draw enough interest to live off of every year. So to try to keep it very simple and basic, because it can get confusing, say that you can live off of 4% a year, right, off of interest that you earn off of your entire portfolio of investments. So you're able to earn and then say you're able to earn 7% interest, which is not unheard of. That's like a conservative estimate that like the FI community bases it off of. So you want to calculate how much total money you're going to need to get 4% of that total, so that you can withdraw every year and then still be able to live comfortably and then still have your investments growing and working for you. So the standard formula that's out there is that you take your annual expenses for 1 year, and this is like keeping in mind where you're going to be living, what your expenses are going to be, just being, you can be as lavish as you want to be, but your number is going to be higher. And so then you're going to multiply that number times 25. That's just a very basic formula. So, I mean, you might get a FIRE number that is 3 million. That's not unheard of if you're spending $10,000 a month in expenses, which where we live is not far-fetched.
Right.
So that's just the basic math of it. Now, a lot of people who have, if you look on the internet, there are people who've achieved FI at age 30 or 40. And so the reason they were able to do that is because they were really able to cut their expenses. So they were able to grow their income and their take home and then cut their expenses. I mean, some of the stories are amazing because they can live off of, say, if you are married, maybe you live off of one income for a whole year or several years. Some people live off of like 30% of what they bring in, and then they're investing that money and growing it until they get to their FI number.
So they basically cut down their current expenses so that they can take more of their cash flow and put it into investments. And then whatever they're making off of their investments, they're only taking 4% of that to live off of.
Right. That's the standard rule of thumb. But, some people do it differently, because some people, they will also have like a separate cash reserve. But in terms of reaching FI, yes, conceptually, that is the formula or the roadmap.
So what have you heard of like being because one of the things, actually, we'll jump to this one thing that, because it was brought up in the copy. One of the things that we realized in, I think it was a podcast that you had us listen to, is that there's only so many expenses you can cut down, right? Eventually, you're going to be at the bottom of what you can cut, because whether you got kids that you have to feed, whether you got electricity bills,
you still got to live and eat. So,
there's still certain cutting that you can't do, even if you are the ultimate, like, know how to get free food from places. and things of that nature.
Yes.
So, but one of the things that the guy mentioned in the podcast was once he got down to his lowest number, he realized it's actually easier for me to just increase my cash flow than it is for me to find other places to cut. You know what I'm saying? Like, cut off cable, all this stuff. Well, okay, cable's gone. You can't cut cable again. It does not exist for you. He was like, so how can I increase my cash flow? And as the sponsor was talking about, the side hustle.
So, absolutely.
And what has been like your drive for like side hustle, especially like right now during the pandemic, while it's dire for a lot of people, this is actually the best season to come up with.
It really is.
Side hustles.
It's like this, there's been no excuse to not just at least find your side hustle if you're not diving completely into it at this point. Because like things been locked down, you ain't had nothing to do but sit and think.
True.
So, what has been like your what do you do? Like, is the real estate your side hustle? Or I feel like you have other businesses, because when I clicked on the link in your bio on Instagram, I was like,
you're like, what is this?
I was like, what is this, Shelby?
It's another business that me and my husband launched.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Fire.
Let me tell you. I mean, we're like y'all. Y'all are hustling too. I love it.
Y'all gonna have to make a U-turn to be like us. It's like
Shelby and them have a disinfecting company.
We sure do. We're meeting needs
to disinfect where you're at.
Yes, we will come and do electrostatic fogging at your home, your automobile, your place of worship, your business.
Shelby, so what is it? Do you all just be like, I see opportunity, let me...
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, I was always given the advice that you should have a minimum of 7 income streams. Okay. And I'll be honest, when I first started like getting really serious, because, Dave Ramsey always says, you need a bigger shovel. And it's true. It's like you said, you can only cut so much, right? At some point, you're going to have to increase that shovel to get rid of the debt. And that's through increasing your income through side hustle. So for me, my husband and I, we just started looking at the things we're interested in. And so that's how we'll start thinking about side hustle. So like with the real estate thing, at that time, we were into the HGTV shows, like everybody, that would be our date night. We love to sit down and watch all the little flip or flop. We actually ended up doing one of the shows, which is hilarious, for this nightmare of a flip that we did. So it was just, so that's where it started. We're like, we can do this. Like we can, like let's try it. So it started with just trying to brainstorm the things that we like to do. And then I'll be honest, like I'll sit down and at least once a year, and this goes to the vision board, I will sit down by myself in a quiet space and start to brainstorm, like look at the current income streams that I have, like list them all, and then start to brainstorm other things that I could be doing that I'm not doing. Or if I hear about random things, like I got a random email about a free class to become a notary. I'm like, oh, and that was a side hustle that my mom had. So I was like, well, why don't I do that? So it's just, it's a combination of stuff that we're interested in, or if we see that there's a need, especially speaking to like COVID-19 and the pandemic, like you said, like Marcus said, there's so many opportunities and there's so many needs right now. I mean, how many people started making masks, which I'm like, do it, whatever else you can provide, like the game is wide open. So, and then we also look at things where there are lower barriers to entry, and some side hustles, it takes you years to get to, and that's okay. And then there's some that are pretty quick, like making masks.
So like that's for you and your husband. Are you all like, we want low entry level? Like what is like when you all attack, we start another business, like what level are you all willing to go in? Because like I know for me and Marcus, most of the stuff, like this is my first time. The one business that I wasn't mentioning that Patreon knows about is one of the first where I actually honestly have to put money on the table before I get money back. Where most of the other ones, it'd be just like a little just buy a camera and have internet and I can be online. Woo. Now it's like you got to buy inventory and then you got to push that sucker out. So like, what is you and your husband's like?
Yeah. So for us, if we know it's going to require time or money invested, sunk cost, then we look at how passionate we are about it. So it's like, is this something that we want to do for the long term? So like real estate, we know that's a long-term play for us. That's something that we are just passionate about and will always be passionate about. We don't see a time when we wouldn't want to be in real estate investing. And even with the Sanify Pro, the disinfecting business, that's something that we were like, we see this now as something we can build and potentially either sell, because that's when you start a business, you think about if you want to sell that business, or is that something you want to pass on to your children? And so it was something that we knew was going to take more time to build. Now, for just like the quicker side hustles, like my notary, like I'm not putting much into that. Like I did, all I spent was what it cost to take the state exam, which was, I don't even remember, like a couple $100 that I can write off my taxes. Hello. So it's all about the tax write-offs. So that's kind of how we assess. It depends how passionate we are, and that will dictate how much time or money or energy or, just long-term strategic planning we're going to put into it.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, how many side hustles? You named 3 already, which is the real estate, notary, and disinfecting. How many other side hustles do you have?
I got to look at my list. Because I keep an Excel spreadsheet. I'm that nerd. I'm sorry, y'all. I keep a tracker of my side hustles. So one thing which everyone can do, and we shared this in our mommy group, is selling things. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know. But you know what? I kind of make it fun. Like I do Poshmark and I'll do like a posting party. I get myself excited. I get a glass of wine and I'm like, I'm going to post 10 things tonight. And since I'm not going anywhere, so I just make it fun. So, I mean, just selling things, whether it's random things around the house that you don't use anymore. I partied with one of my Louis Vuittons, but it was worth it because it was able to help me, because I'm with you, Angel. For me, it's the student loans, because although I came out of undergrad with no debt, my grad school, that MBA, so I have an MBA as well, and it did not come cheap. Okay. Yeah, that's for me is my Achilles heel that I'm working on. So definitely my selling on Poshmark or eBay, Craigslist, Nextdoor, you name it. And I promise you, everybody out there, you have something that you can sell that's just literally sitting around your house.
Yeah. Real quick to answer a question, and then you go do what you say. Yes, Shelby does have a full-time job. She has a 9 to 9. She has a real full-time job.
I do, y'all. I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I'm all about Angel. Angel likes to have these yard sales, and half the time it's to declutter. I'm like, the money you make from a yard sale, I'd rather pay somebody to come pick it all up, because it's too much of a hassle. Because I look at the time spent.
Right.
Like, how much did you just make an hour? You actually owe money now. But it's crazy, because I know it's a couple of guys. I actually just discovered this probably a couple of weeks ago. There's people, it's this shoe game. So there's people that will literally buy old Jordans or whatever type of shoe. They've learned how to refurbish them and sell them for like $500 or $600.
Wow.
No, I'm not even kidding. I have a cousin. He's been doing that since high school. He also does bicycles. He upcycles, as they call it, different things. So, I mean, there's so many ways you can get into it if it's something that you're passionate about. If you're into sneakers, I have a coworker who also is able to sell sneakers. I have a coworker who trades up Rolexes, y'all. Okay, so you can side hustle and make it sexy. You just have to really figure out what your lane is, what's gonna keep your interest, and then go down that path. I'm trying to think of some of the other side hustles I have. What about you, Angel?
What'd you say? To say now?
Your side hustles.
Oh, I have so many, and I never know when. Sometimes I'll be feeling like, is this a main hustle? What is it?
Right. But that's the beauty. But that's a great point, because that's the beauty of a side hustle, that it keeps you. Like you don't worry so much if your 9 to 9 goes away, if you're laid off, or even in the pandemic, like we talked about that, Angel, you can shift your priorities. Like, okay, now this side hustle, I'm going to start to make it a main hustle until the old main hustle comes back around. So that's the beauty of if you can have 7 income streams, then you are able to pull different levers as you need to in your life.
Yeah.
I remember I was an electrician in Kentucky, and I would pick up a lot of side work because I was good at carpentry and everything.
Mhm.
And I was going to do side hustle gigs on my lunch break as an electrician. Like we'd be out at the job site, like wiring up, I don't know, residential or whatever. And it'd be like, all right, going to take lunch. I'll be right back. Like I would literally go do a job somewhere else and then come back, and it got to the point to where I was actually making more on my side hustle than I was at work.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, that's how their big businesses start, because the side hustle turns into a business, and then that takes them to financial independence and financial freedom. I have a funny side hustle story. So one of my recent side hustles I haven't shared with anyone was working the census. And I got fired, y'all. So not every side hustle works out, okay?
Why'd they fire you, Shelby?
Ma'am, because it's pandemic times and they still want you to go to all these doors and be talking to people. Did y'all have the enumerators? That was my position. Come to your door. So I was doing, I did what I could, and they were like, oh no, ma'am, your numbers aren't high enough. I was like, peace, deuces. Send me my last check. And now guess what? We're on to the next side hustle.
You like, I have no hard feelings. Bye. I'm not doing this no more. So how are you able to balance all of this? Because I think that's what a lot of people are like.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'll be honest. I mean, I don't necessarily recommend. I work 7 days a week for now, and that's just the season that I've chosen in my life because of my goals. Going back to what we talked about earlier, like I have very specific goals that I want to reach by certain times. And so I feel like I partied a lot in my 20s and even my early 30s. So for me, it's game time. So I'm not going to say I'm working on the balance. It's not all the way there. I will say my husband is very supportive. He also works a lot. So we have to work really hard about just having that time together. And I think us being able to side hustle together helps with that. Yeah. And then we have help with our kids. I'm not going to sit here and lie, but even with that, and I'm happy to talk about that, it's not conventional. It's not what you would think. I have an au pair, which is something else that comes up. But again, financially, we come out better than our friends who are necessarily paying for daycare or a babysitter. So I'm happy to talk about that as well. So we don't have, like, I guess what you would say is I don't know, what would you say, traditional or the common
the au pair, is their income free room and board, or do you pay them on top of that?
So typically how it works is you work through an agency, and the agency is like online dating. So you sign up for an agency site, and then you start to video chat with different au pairs. They're typically people who are between the ages of 18 to 26. They come from other countries. And it's a cultural exchange. So some of them are in college. There is like an educational requirement for them, but they can come and stay with you, and you pay them for 45 hours of childcare a week. You pay, I think it's like $197 and some change right now. So do the math on that.
$197
per week.
We got an extra room.
Yeah. So anybody out there, I mean, I know here in LA, like before we were paying $20 an hour for a sitter, right? And I've talked to my friends in Atlanta, and it's about the same. It's not like it's that much cheaper.
Yeah, no, they get paid bank.
Right. They're living better than us. What you talking about? Yeah. So, and for us, it made sense because we needed, we needed flexibility with our schedules because we do work in television. So sometimes we have to be on set at 6 a.m. Sometimes we're not wrapping till 9 p.m. And so that was getting really costly. Whereas with an au pair, you can make the schedule because they live with you, so that you can make the schedule very flexible to really meet your needs and give you the support that you need.
See, my mother was an au pair, but she moved out.
Oh no! Yeah, look, now that's what's up. If you can get your mom, my mom was like, "Honey, I'm free." No,
she's like, "I ain't doing this no more." Before we jump into some more of this podcast, I want to tell you all about our other sponsor, and y'all know we love some Usual Wines. They are my jam. They are Marcus's jam, and they are the jam of many people in our podcast. Usual Wines are wines for the modern drinker. Oh, Each bottle is 6.3 ounces. It's a heavy pour, about a glass and a half of wine. No more pouring wine down the sink when you don't want to finish the bottle, because the single serving format and bottle design, Usual Wine is always fresh. No more flat, bubbly, or stale rosé. Oh, there ain't nothing like some fresh rosé. Oh, it sings to my soul.
Yes.
Usual Wines are made in the American viticultural area in California, like Napa, Sonoma, and Santa Barbara, and they're made with minimal intervention, sugar, zero sugar, and zero additives. The wines are low carb and have 0 grams of sugar. Usual Wines are red blend, a rosé, and a sparkling white wine called Brut. There's no sugar in their wines, because what Usual Wines does is they produce natural, sustainable grapes that they harvest every year, and then they pick the grapes at optimal ripeness and ensure all the sugar will be fermented out completely until the wines are dry with no residual sugar. All that's left over is delicious, clean wine. The process of fermentation happens naturally when yeast eats the naturally occurring sugar in the grapes, and in goes sugar, out comes alcohol. So some winemakers, what they do is they purposefully stop the fermentation process so that sugar is left. But the way Usual Wine does it is they go ahead and they keep on fermenting until all that sugar's out. And that ensures that the wines are as dry as possible and lower in calories, which is what I'm trying to be about right now. Okay.
Same.
I don't need all those additional calories. And what's also great about Usual Wines is that in the US, they allow for over 60 additives to be used in winemaking. Usual Wines doesn't use any chemical or sugar additives to enhance the flavors or stability of their wine. That is why they are truly a clean wine. So we would like for you all to go check out their website at www.usualwines.com and use our discount code ARGUE for $8 off your first order and try your first glass on us. Again, that is www.usualwines.com and use our promo code ARGUE for $8 off your first order and try your first glass on us. Thank you, Usual Wines.
Thank y'all.
Oh my goodness. Now, what was that we just finished talking about the au pair. Au pair. When did y'all just recently decided to do this?
We're on our 3rd au pair, actually.
Really? How long have y'all been using one?
Oh gosh, let me think. The first one we just started last year because it was just too much. Between me, I was going crazy, y'all, like trying to balance my career as well as all these side hustles. And these are things that I'm super passionate about. So I'm like, especially like with the real estate, like I'm not changing my intensity on that. It's something that's super important to me. I've worked really hard to build my career and I love it. Mm-hmm. So, but I needed support. And I think what it was for us is we looked at when we sat down to do our taxes for last year. So it was 2018 taxes. And we calculated how much we had spent on daycare and babysitters. I literally fell out on the floor.
Right.
Like it would have literally paid cash for like a out of state rental property like Texas or Tennessee, where I'm from. And so I was like, we can't do this anymore.
And what also sucks is that most babysitters are paid under the table. So it's not like you are taxing them as as a contractor.
Right.
So you just have to eat that money that you spend.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Shelby, I did not know. I heard you mention in the chat group that you had an au pair, but I didn't realize that's why people get au pairs. I thought they were still just as expensive as nannies.
Let me tell y'all something. It's a whole thing. So when you see, and families that don't look like us, and you wonder how it's because they have an au pair or they're doing something similar. They are not out here paying these crazy fees that we are paying. And so once I started to learn, because that was another thing, through my daughter's private preschool, I started talking to these other families, like, what are you guys doing? And then I started meeting their au pairs. That's what even opened my mind up to, because I was like, this is not something Black folks do. Mm-hmm. and then I started to be like, Shelby, you've got to open your mind. Like, this is how people are making it work.
I don't think I'm going to be able to get off of that. This is just, it's like, We could have been. Marcus doesn't usually have to pay the babysitter, so he doesn't feel
Right.
that money.
Oh, that
Yes.
kids park money. I was that
That's
hurt me.
the one daycare. Okay, one other thing I want you to touch on, because I also feel like this is something very particular to you. Shelby has a lot of bank accounts.
I do. I need help with that department. I've got to streamline it.
So tell us like why and like how you shop for bank accounts.
Yeah, I think, and part of this too, I think I inherited this from my mom. She has a lot of bank accounts. And I don't know if it's my own thinking, like the bank's going to go down. You know, I started having those flashbacks to 2008 when people were trying to get money from the bank. And you know, supposedly it's FDIC insured, whatever. For me, I'm very diversified. I have probably every account out there. The only account I don't have yet that I'm looking into is a HSA, a health savings account. It's another great potential. It has tax savings, and I won't get too deep into it because I'm not a financial advisor. But for me, when I'm looking at banks, you want to look at who's going to give you the highest rate of return on your money, depending, you know, regardless, like and what sort of rewards or benefits that they offer you. So if it's a regular checking, you want to, you know, make sure you're looking at the fees, make sure it's nothing crazy. And so we see that the online banks, and we've talked about one that I think now you're working with.
Listen,
or using.
You know, I love me some Capital One now.
Yes.
Listen. Yeah.
And so I first got turned on. I was intimidated. This was back in 2009. And I was intimidated about, you know, working with online banks, but they really are the ones now. And there's so many others out there now that are providing the higher returns, more resources. I feel like they also provide, like Capital One. One great thing about them is they provide free money coaching sessions. Like, okay, some of these other big banks, they barely will talk to you when you go into the branch.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
And then, you know, the other thing that's been important in our group is banking Black. So, you know, I certainly have those accounts still. Which, you know, we're gonna keep working with our community, and
we're gonna be trying. We're keep trying.
We're trying.
So, okay, you said you have every type of account. Can you name off some of the accounts?
Yeah. I have, like, you know, for on the personal side, I of course have like a couple. I have more than one. I have checking accounts. I have savings accounts. That's usually for me my sinking fund. So sinking fund is something where you know that you have an expense that's coming up. So say like my rent payment or something that I know is like a monthly expense, I'll keep in that sinking fund. I also have I have money market accounts. And so these, for me, the way I use my money market accounts, because that's like the highest return you can get for like a savings type of account. So I use that for things that I'm saving up for that I'm going to spend money on in the first, say, within a year. After that, then I have investment accounts. So I have a couple of different kinds. I have a self-trading account through E-Trade, which I actually started in 1999 in my dorm room when I was a freshman in college. So yeah, I've been with E-Trade a long time, y'all. And then I also have a target date fund. So this is actually through, I guess I can just say it, Merrill. I do work with a financial advisor through Merrill. He's also my Morehouse. I went to Spelman undergrad. He's my Morehouse brother. And so this type of account is good for somebody who wants to get into investing, but you're like, I'm kind of intimidated by it. I don't really understand, you know, how to pick stocks or, you know, pick various investments. You put the money, you can make regular contributions, whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. And then based on the target date, meaning you're going to assign a date for when you want to start using that money. So my target date fund is for 2030 because that is part of my FI plan. So when you open that account, you're going to say, okay, I want to use this for this purpose, and I want it to reach this amount of money by this date. And so then based on that, it will automatically start to calculate how you should be invested. So how it starts out is that it's investing you very aggressively, so more stocks than, you know, say bonds. And then as you get closer to that end date, it's going to adjust and make your investments more conservative. So it takes the thought process out of it for you.
I like that. That was Merrill?
Yes,
Yeah.
but you can
Yeah.
find target date funds like Vanguard. There's so many.
Mhm.
I just particularly, because I work with this particular financial advisor and he's with Merrill.
Okay.
But there are several, I mean, there's so many, there's TD Ameritrade. I mean, I could go on, and then there are index funds. I don't have an index fund yet, but I trade ETFs. So not to get too deep. So keep going. So I also work with Betterment, which is an app where it's similar, where it's like a target date fund. I also have mutual funds that my husband and I are invested in together. And that's another thing. I have my my separate investments, and I do have an account. He swears I have an account that he doesn't know about, and that may or may not be true.
That's what you probably do.
But I encourage him to do the same thing, because I will say this, Hunty, when May 2020 hit, he was glad I had that account that he doesn't know about.
You like, it saved us. Just want to let you know, you got some Spellman sisters on here that are just showing you all the love.
Oh my God. Hi, Spellman sisters. Spellman thy name we praise. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Shelby.
I'm trying to think what else. We have so many accounts, y'all. We have life insurance. That life insurance is not an investment. I can go into that. Please do not fall for the okie doke. This is something I really had to learn as well. Insurance is there to replace your income if something happens to you. It should not be your investment. I also have, in terms of retirement accounts, I have a 401k. I also have a Roth IRA. So you can see I have too many accounts, and
You
I'm
got
just
all of them.
You got all the accounts. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
I do.
Shelby's not playing. This is the reason why I was like, I should have had you on here twice, because I was
honey, I can go on, and that's just on the personal side. On the business side, we have checking and savings for, and we should talk about that too. If you have a business, you need a cash reserve for your business.
Y'all, listen, Shelby knows so much, and I probably had her throw a little too much at y'all, but I do want y'all's minds to be open.
Yeah,
The reason,
rewind it.
yes, listen, y'all have it to be able to rewind. The big reason why I wanted Shelby on here is because she opened my mind to so much of what I was ignorant to. And a lot of times that's what holds us back. When I say us meaning Black people, is that we are not even aware what other people are aware of, and
other people grew up aware of these things.
Yes, they talk about it. They talk about it at the dinner table.
It was like second nature for them to hear this type of stuff every day, all day. But us, we did not hear that.
I'm telling you, it's amazing. What I'm going to see if I can do, because they were like, can she come back to break down the best accounts to have? What I'm going to see if I can do is possibly for my Patreon only, I'm going to see if I can get Shelby to like either give me a document or something that I can share with you all that will break down the different accounts with like stars about which ones she feels like are essential for the person just starting out. Something that I'm doing with Shelby right now that only Patreon will be doing here soon is I'm doing a savings challenge with Shelby and the Mocha Moms, and we'll be doing a savings challenge in the Patreon this October. So anybody in my Patreon will be able to join. You will pick the dollar amount that you're trying to save, and we're just going to try to keep each other accountable and start saving our money. That's something. We just finished a wellness challenge. We'll finish it on Tuesday. So we were focused on health. And now we're going to focus on wealth. So everybody's asking. They're like, they want to do an Ask a Shelby. Okay, so I'm going to see. Listen, Shelby's a busy.
Yeah, and y'all heard how busy she is.
Lady, she got 50 businesses to run. She got to check all of her bank accounts. Shelby said she would love to, okay?
Yes, I would love to.
Shelby said she would love to, so I'm going to situate that. We'll have it happen sometime in October, since that's what we'll be focused on in October. But Shelby, we just want to thank you so much for just
we greatly appreciate this.
All of the stuff that you, unfortunately, we weren't able to have the fire group before COVID. They were supposed to do it here, because I was like, so my husband can hear what you're saying. So I'm glad he got to hear some of it. So before we close out, do you want to tell them where they can follow you? You have your own podcast that I want them to know about. Go ahead.
I do. So you can find me at Mamas, that's with a S, in Progress. So Mamas in Progress. And so I have a podcast and a little Instagram blog with one of our mutual mommy friends, and we talk about a lot of different things, but certainly money and finances and generational wealth is something that it's always a hot topic for me. As you can see, I could go on and on and on forever about it.
She's amazing. So make sure you all check out Mamas in Progress. Check out them on Instagram as well as their podcast, which is where all podcasts can be found. You can follow me at That Chick Angel on all platforms, as well as Is This Going to Cause an Argument on Facebook and Instagram. You can watch this on That Chick Angel TV on YouTube. And Marcus, where can they find you?
Y'all can find me at on Instagram at Marcus Ain't on the Gram, and Facebook at Marcus Ain't on the Book. Also, you can check out my beard and body butter. That's Manshit. That's MANSHYT. You can go to manshit.com. Check that out. It's 100% all natural beard and body butter that I make myself. I'm currently working on rebranding, so the look will change here soon.
But the quality's going to remain the same.
Y'all, it ain't going nowhere.
Well, I'm going to get some for my husband. I'm ordering today.
Yes, order you some. Again, we want to thank our brands that sponsored us today, BetterHelp, Rebecca Allen, and Usual Wines. Please make sure you check them out and use our promo code. When you show love to our sponsors, they show love to us. And again, a special thank you to our Patreon. You all make our lives better every single
Patreon. We
day.
greatly appreciate y'all.
And if you want to join Patreon, go to www.patreon.com/thatchickangel. Come back next week for our last installment of our family and finance series. I'm not sure who we're going to have on, but we're going to have on somebody amazing. So y'all come back and y'all be ready. Until next Wednesday, y'all be blessed, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, family. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
That Chick Angel.